Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Better Digital Marketing Podcast. Me, your host, Ben Briggs. Today on the podcast, we're going to talk about remarketing. Remarketing, retargeting, whatever you want to call it. We're talking about today just the specific tactic of serving paid ads to users who have previously been on your website at a later time than the visit of the website. The main platforms that we use to do this when we're doing it in a small, medium startup growth phase type environment is the Google Ads platform and the Facebook Ads platform. That gives us access to Google. It gives us access to the entire Google Display Network, YouTube, Facebook. Also gives us access to Instagram. So those are two, really giant traffic sources that are available. So those are the main platforms. The main platforms where the ads are going to serve are on the Google Display Network, which includes all kinds of different websites, everything from shopping websites, eBay's in there. You've got weather, AccuWeather, weather.com, they're display partners. All of your local TV and radio stations, all of their websites. You've got all different kinds of blogs. Everything from politics, current events, entertainment, they're like TMZ. I mean, like all of these types of websites are in the Google Display Network. It may be easier or more difficult to buy placements on specific websites. I've gotten, NewYorkTimes.com traffic before from the Google Display Network. So you can definitely get some pretty high quality placements. And that's kind of an idea of what the Google Display Network gives you access to. It also gives you YouTube. I mean, YouTube is one of the biggest websites on the internet in terms of traffic. And there are certain creative options that will give you kind of a display traffic. You could get display clicks or display impressions from either responsive display ads or a couple of what we're going to call the old school banners, the 728 by 90s, the 250 by 250s, 300 by 300s squares, the 160 by 600, skyscraper type situation. So those are the types of ads that you can serve. And you can serve these ads just to anybody, right? You can just or to whatever the targeting is, right? You can pick a keyword, and then something that's sort of related to the keyword will have to be on the page in order for the ad to serve, right? You could do that instead of doing remarketing, but what we're talking about today is the remarketing. So it's only serving the ads on the display network to the users who have previously been on your website. And like we talked about, the Google Display Network, which also gives you access to YouTube with those kind of standard display banners. There's also text options. You can just serve a text ad. You've probably seen those different places when you're browsing blogs or what have you. But see, these are the text and the image ads that you can serve. And it's the most effective if what you mean by effective is that it generates leads, that it generates e-commerce transactions, that it generates highly engaged users. If those are the metrics that you're looking at to determine whether or not your display campaign is effective, then remarketing is going to be the most effective tactic that you have, period, by a wide margin. So even if you've bought display traffic in the past and it didn't perform well for you, that doesn't mean that remarketing won't perform well for you. Because remarketing is just it's fundamentally different because the user is familiar with your brand. They've been on your website before. So serving ads to them is much more likely to result in a transaction or a contact to your sales team than if the user is maybe never heard of you, and you're just trying to pull people in to your website. So the Google Display Network gives us access to those text placements, the old school banners, and also responsive display ads. We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. Facebook is basically the feed ads, right? There isn't even a right side. There used to be a right side. I'm old enough to remember when the ads on Facebook were on the right side of the desktop platform, but now basically all of the ad traffic is in the feed. There may be some other opportunities on Facebook, but the real traffic is in the feed. So you've got to create ads that are, have some kind of a compelling offer that, attract attention with the image. And then you've got to think about the text that you're including in the post. It seems like there's a couple different schools of thought. Some people will go with really, really short pieces of text. Some people will write their life story, you'll click more twice and it expands to this huge, this huge amount of text in the ad. It depends on what you're selling, and you can just test to find out which of those options is going to work better for you. On Instagram, it just looks just like a normal Instagram post. Some of them have the carousel now. You can slide back and forth, look at multiple images. They can also feature multiple URLs. So those are the kinds of opportunities that you're going to get with Facebook. With Facebook, you just have to implement the Facebook pixel onto your website and then build an audience in Facebook ads on the Facebook ads platform. And then you would be able to serve basically posts. You can customize these. There's carousel options. There's video options. There's a lot of different creative that you could use on the Facebook platform. But in any case, when we're talking about remarketing on Facebook, we're talking about serving ads, servicing posts to users who've been to our website before. YouTube is really simple. It is really similar to both of these. And tea is delicious. And YouTube it uses the Google platform. So you're serving YouTube ads through the Google Ads platform. Your audience builders and everything are all exactly the same between YouTube and the Google Display Network. You'll often be using even the exact same audience. You'll just be attaching it to a video campaign instead of attaching it to a display campaign. So when you're and then you can serve these in stream. You can also serve video discovery as remarketing. So you're watching a video on desktop and you've got these options. Video discovery could also show up as suggested feed inside the mobile app. But the main ads that you probably want to be buying, the ones that I found to be more effective, are the in-stream. You can buy the 6-second bumpers. If you're just trying to drive home the branding a little bit more. If you want to run an actual offer, if you want to feature a product and maybe do just a product price lockup type situation, talk about real quickly about some of the benefits of the product, then, a 15-second would be fine. You can also serve as long as you want. So on YouTube, you can also serve the longer ads. No matter how long your video is, you can serve it as a YouTube ad. It's just once they get past the 5-second mark, the 15-second mark, your view counters are happening, your cost per views are happening at that point. So the three major display opportunities that we've got, and there are other platforms, there are other networks that you could use. Criteo springs to mind. They basically, they more or less buy Google traffic, but they're also using other display partners to buy inventory to serve mostly product ads as remarketing. AdRoll is another company. When comparing, I've done side to side with AdRoll, Google Display Network, and AdRoll is buying 80-90% of the exact same traffic that I'm getting from the Google Display Network. I'm just paying more for it when I buy it from AdRoll. There may be a level of scale, if you're a Procter & Gamble type, where you would actually be able to get some benefit out of some of the premium display partners, some of the media maths and the trade desks, and these more advanced options to buying the remarketing inventory. But for the most part, a well-run Google Display Network or Facebook ads or YouTube remarketing campaign is going to give you at least as good, if not maybe better, performance than you would get if you were running through an ad roll or a Criteo or somebody like that. So the creative options. So the old school banners, like we talked about. The old school banners, I'm just going to Google this real quick. Google display banner specs. And we can look at some of these options. There we go. That's perfect. I'll share the screen. There it is. And so your 300 by 250, your 320 by 50, that's a really common mobile placement. You can see those on the bottom of apps. You can see it on the bottom of mobile web pages. 320 by 100 is also it's just a less common option. 250 by 250, a lot of times that will be just a medium banner. Like if you're viewing an article on a news website, a lot of times you'll have to scroll through a 250 by 250. That'll be so 250 by 250 is a really common placement. And then we're showing some of the desktop versions, the 336 by 280. It's just a larger square. Just gives you, it's basically the same as it performs a lot of the same functions as you would see with a 250 by 250 or 300 by 300. It's just a little bit bigger square. I mean, it's a little bit off kilter, so you got to adjust your background a little bit if you're a designer, but that's what's part of building out banner packages. 728 by 90, that's your kind of score, your leaderboard type ad. It can also be in the bottom on desktop. Then there's the sort of skyscraper we talked about, 300 by 600, the 160 by 600 is more of a skyscraper. This is maybe a rectangle, whatever you want to call it. This one isn't super common, the 970 by 90. It is an option that's out there. Again, that 250 by 250 is pretty important. A lot of publishers will use that 250 by 250 size. So if you're trying to do remarketing and you aren't getting the volume of traffic that you want, and you're using these kind of, I call them old school banners, where the difference between these and the responsive banners is, we'll get into that more in just a second, but these need to be basically custom created. You're gonna hire a designer. You're going to create an ad that meets all these dimensions. There's also a file size limit, and there's only certain types of files that are accepted. So you've got to be mindful of that when you're creating these. And the big choice that you've got to make is whether you're going to use like a static, like a PNG, or PNG is probably the best. But maybe there's some situations where you would want to use JPEG or something else. But for the most part, it's going to be you're creating a PNG image. It's a static image. It's got your brand probably on it. Maybe one of your products could be an offer. And you're custom creating this banner, and then you're loading that into Google Ads, and then you're serving that to people who have been to your website previously. So the other format of file that you can use that is actually it's significantly better. Like you're going to get better performance if you use HTML5. So instead of using just a stock standard flat banner that doesn't do anything, what you're going to do is have an HTML5 ad, and the HTML5 will allow you to create motion graphics. You can have kind of different slides coming through. It could be sort of a video type thing. So those, having that motion, having that that extra kind of eye-catching element to the motion of the banner. It's going to get you a lot more attention. It's going to get you a lot more clicks. And that once you've got the people on your website, hopefully your website is doing a good job of converting the user at least into a lead, if not into a full-on transaction. So that is the HTML5. If you're going to buy remarketing and you're going to use these, the fully customizable, we could call these fully customizable because you do have more options in the way that these are displayed than the responsive display ads. You do have more control over, how your branding is going to look, over how the offer is going to be featured. You have more control with these, fully custom kind of old school banners. And if you use them with the HTML5, which is going to cost you a little bit more when you're going to create a banner set. Creating a static banner set is going to be less expensive than creating a HTML5 banner set with motion graphics and all that good stuff. But when you're buying the traffic, the HTML5 is going to do a better job of bringing users to your site, which will allow you to convert them, which will make the whole campaign more valuable. So if you're spending a significant amount of money on remarketing, then you would want to use the HTML5 banners as opposed to just the flat banners. If you're a smaller advertiser, you're just going to create one set of evergreen banners. You're going to run them for a year. Then maybe you don't want to spend the extra to get the HTML5. But again, for the best performance, you're going to want to use the HTML5 banners. Now, there's also the responsive display ads. Now, the responsive display ads, basically what you do is you load up a rectangle and a square of your logo. You load up a rectangle and a square of a lifestyle image, whatever, some kind of background image that you want your product to be associated with or your brand to be associated with. You create up to 5 descriptions, or maybe it's more than that, maybe it's at least 5. But you use some headlines, which are just 30 characters of text. You load up your business name, and then you have a number of different descriptions, and also a long headline that are 90 characters long. And basically what Google's going to do is it's going to use your logo, it's going to use this image, it's going to use these different text options, and it's going to smush those together in different combinations to create banner ads. Let me just pull up responsive Google display ads, and maybe we can see some examples. Yeah, well, it's not really wanting to show me a ton of examples right away, but in any case, what it's going to, like I said, it's going to use the image that you uploaded, your logo, and the different pieces of text that you upload in there, and it's going to create ads that fill whatever ad slot the user is on. Now, the advantage to responsive display ads, one of the advantages is that Google seems to really, really like them. Google seems to think that they are better than the ads that advertisers create, kind of the old school banners. The reason why I have that opinion about Google's opinion of responsive display ads compared to the standard old school banners is that it seems that I'm paying less per click, I'm paying less per impression, I'm paying less per everything when I use responsive display ads as compared to what I have to pay if I'm using the old school HTML5, the old school PNG banners. It seems like Google is giving me a discount on the inventory. Basically, I'm buying the inventory for less money with the responsive display ads than I would have to with the standard display ads. Now, when I analyze all the way down, I mean, it's like, am I buying the same slots? Am I getting different slots? I mean, one of the things is when you look at some of the more esoteric, more obscure ad sizes, like the 970 by 90 that we saw. Since there are a lot of advertisers who aren't even going to create one of those, right? They're not going to, they're just going to do maybe a 250 by 250 and a 320 by 50. They're only going to do 2 options, and they will be able to spend their budget because those are the most common placements. So it could be that the responsive display ads are filling those odd slots, filling those odd size slots that people have on different websites. And since you're buying inventory that other people aren't buying, you're getting it at a better price. So there could be some of that. There could be some of Google just straight giving you a discount for using the responsive display ads. One other thing to think about with the responsive display ads is if you are an e-commerce advertiser, and you have a Google merchant feed connected all in there. And so your products are loaded up and you've got the ability to do product listing ads, whether you are shopping ads, product listing ads, called it 74 different things over the years. But if you've got that all loaded up, you can, in addition to your text and your images that you're using for your responsive display ads, you still have to load all the same stuff up. You know, you can't just do products, unfortunately. I think that'd be kind of cool. Google, if you're out there listening, how about only products as responsive display ads? That'd be cool. But in any case, the adding the products to your product feed in some, if the user, you know, you can remarket with the products, right? So so Google automatically create an ad. It could be, you know, 6 of your products with the titles and the prices, and then it fills an ad slot, so that you can get those kinds of placements if you've got that product feed with these responsive display ads. And it's really the only way to do product remarketing through the Google Ads platform. So so using the responsive display ads for that purpose is definitely something that you would want to look at. Facebook and Instagram. Again, the creative options for this are basically just I mean, whatever you're seeing in your feed, whatever your normal feed view is, you know, that's what an ad's going to look like. It's got the image, it's got the text. You know, you could have a call to action button. You load one of those on there. You can also have the carousel ads where you slide back and forth, or you can do a video. If you're going to do, one of the best practices for video ads for Facebook and Instagram is to have closed captions, because a lot of people have the sound turned off. I'm one of them. I do not have there's nothing in the world that annoys me more than when I'm scrolling through my Facebook feed, which I do probably too much of. My podcast that I'm listening to gets turned off because some video of a truck, some guy falling off the back of a truck or something is is playing sound, you know, and so I have the sound turned off. So if you want to you know, reach me with your message with a video ad, then you have to have you have to have the closed captions, and a lot of times I do end up reading those words that show up. So so if you're going to do video, have the closed captions. Facebook ads are really all about testing. You know, there's a million different ways. Like you said, there's carousel. You've got the one image. You've got the you know, slide options. You've got the call to action button. You've got, do I use a little text or a lot of text? You know, maybe so there's all these different things to think about when you're looking at the Facebook ads creative. But in any case, it's showing up in the feed. That's the placement that you get. Facebook Instagram does significantly increase the reach of your remarketing as compared to if you only had the Google Display Network traffic. You know, if you also buy the Instagram traffic and the Facebook traffic, you know, you can easily get a good 30% more users. You know, there's maybe 20, 30, 40% of your audience that you can reach on Facebook or Instagram that you're very rarely going to see on the Google Display Network. So adding Facebook or Instagram to your, you know, full remarketing package is definitely a good idea. It's definitely something that you should be thinking about when you're thinking about remarketing. We talked a little bit about the video placements. You know, you can do video in a banner, right? So there are ways, especially with the HTML5, to kind of reference a video in a banner. I don't really care for it that much. We know when I've tested it, it hasn't performed all that well. People mostly don't click play. You know, if I'm on a news website, I'm reading an article about whatever happened yesterday or today or whatever. I'm probably not gonna go click on the ad and you know, watch the video in the middle of that. It's probably just not something I'm gonna do. But putting a video in a banner is an option. The in-stream is where most of the ad consumption gets done. You can use shorts. So you can use 6-second bumpers, they call them. It's really just a brand call. It's a brand play. You know, you're just trying to remind the user that you exist and that you're awesome. That's really about all you can say in 6 seconds. The 15 seconds, pretty popular one, usually going to be skippable. One best practice there is to make sure that your brand elements are right at the very beginning of the video, because that way, even if somebody skips it, then at least you still got the brand exposure, and you didn't have to officially pay for it. I mean, the more skips you get, the higher your CPV is, so you are kind of paying for it in a way. Um, but uh, skip, if you're paying per view, then and somebody skips it, then you didn't pay, right? So I mean, it does ultimately come out in the wash, but at least if you put your branding at the beginning, then you get that benefit. And then you're with your full creative, hopefully you're getting some people to click through, come to your website, take a valuable action. So there's also the video discovery, like we talked about. That could be on the right side on YouTube desktop, could be in the below when you're looking for the next thing to watch in the mobile app, and you can buy that inventory to put your video discovery ads in. So the audience itself. So we've talked about the platforms, we've talked about where you can buy the traffic. We've talked about the creative options, the different types of ads that you can create to be able to serve to users, to bring them back to your website. So the next thing we want to talk about is the audience, like the actual audience of people. And you might think, well, what are you talking about? It's people who've been to my website. Well, yeah, it is those people. It's definitely all of those people. But you can do some cool things if you have a big enough audience. You do need at least a few thousand clicks a month. If you got 10,000 users, 20,000, 30,000 users, now you're getting to where you can do some really cool stuff. So if you've got a decent amount of traffic, then just serving ads to all users is not going to be the most effective way to go for you. You want to start thinking about different ways to segment your audience, and you want to think about communicating differently with some of these different audiences. Now, one of the ways that you can communicate differently with different audiences is with those responsive display shopping ads that we talked about, because what they're going to do is try to serve the product that the customer shopped for and other products that are closely related. They're going to try to serve those products to the user, so that ad is kind of customized to the user, and that's going to make the ad more effective. You can also use the time on the list. This is a really common audience segmentation that I do. So maybe I've got one audience that is all users last 7 days, and then I've got another audience that's all users last 30 days. Then I got another audience that's last 90, another one that's 180, 360, 540 is the max on Google Ads. But those really old audiences don't tend to be as valuable as more like a 30-day audience. So one thing that you could do is you could be thinking about your frequency cap. So when you're thinking about how you want to reach your audience, one thing that you don't want to do is just completely bombard them and constantly serve the same ad to the same person over and over and over again. Because if they didn't take any kind of action the first 7 times, the next 14, the chances aren't that good that they're going to take the action then. So one thing that you want to do is maybe set a frequency cap. So maybe you want to have 7, maybe you want to have your users who've been on the website in the last 7 days to be eligible to view 7 impressions per day across your campaign. But you only want people who between 7 and 30 days, you still want to be serving ads to those people, but not 7 a day. You want it to only be 3. So you would create your 7-day audience, your 30-day audience. You'd have 2 different ad groups. You would layer your targeting differently for those different ad groups or for those different campaigns, and then set your frequency cap accordingly. And that would allow you to serve more impressions to people who have joined the list more recently, people who've been on your website more recently, and then still be serving ads to people who are a little bit longer away, but that you want to serve. So you still want to serve them impressions, but maybe 3 a day instead of 7. So you would use audience custom combinations to to serve those ads to these users in different ways based on the amount of time that they've been on your remarketing list. Another way that can be really useful to segment our audience for display remarketing is to look at our converters. So if you're an e-commerce an e-commerce merchant, maybe maybe you're defining converter for this right now as people who've actually made a purchase. And maybe, I mean, there could be two different strategies that you would want to use with converters. One thing that I like to do with converters, if I'm serving to an all users type audience as well, is to exclude them. So you look at all the people who've been on your website in the last 7 days. If your product is something that people purchase and then they usually don't purchase it again in the same week, then you could layer that audience. So you've got all users past 7, exclude people who have converted, and then you won't be serving remarketing ads to people who have already made a purchase. And that's good. That's something that you want, because you're probably just annoying them, right? If they've already done all the purchasing that they're going to do, then following around the internet with a bunch of ads isn't necessarily going to be productive. So you can exclude those converters from your remarketing audience, and then that will automatically improve the performance of your remarketing campaign. Another thing that you could do, if let's say you have a loss leader, you have a product that people purchase often, and you have an upsell that you're looking to promote. You could, assuming you have a decent number of converters, again, these lists need to have a reasonable size, at least a few hundred people, a few thousand is better. But if you wanted to serve an upsell offer, you could serve it just to people who've already bought the loss leader, right? Or the intro product. So you could use your converter list as a feeder for your upsell. That's a pretty common way to use conversion data. And the best way to harvest the conversion data is to have a thank you page. This is a step that a lot of people skip. A lot of people like to, maybe let's say that they're generating leads, right? The idea is to generate leads. And then they'll have a lead form, and the lead form will push the data where it needs to go, whether it's sending an email to a salesperson or pushing it into a customer relationship management platform. The user puts the data in, pushes the submit button, off it goes. And but they don't deliver the user to a new page of the website, / thank you, right? By adding that step where you push the user over to the new page, then what you can do is you can create a list of users who viewed that page, and then you'll know that those are the users that converted. There are some hacks and some workarounds that you can do, but by using that thank you page process, whether it's an e-commerce transaction or a lead that's generated, by using that thank you page, it makes it much easier to be able to segment your traffic. Another way, if you've got a lot of traffic, another thing that you could do is you could look at, let's say that I have a couple of different services, right? Maybe I'm something of maybe I'm a residential contractor. I do roofs, I do bathroom remodels, and I do siding, right? So I've got these 3 different product categories. We've got roofs, bathroom remodels, and siding. And so these users that are coming to my website, if they're looking at roofs, then it would make sense to follow up with an ad about the discount that I have for my roofing services. If it's bathrooms, maybe I'm going to follow up with the portfolio of all these amazing bathrooms that I've done. So just like we talked about creating the list of converters based on people who viewed that page, you could do the same thing with a category. So you could use all of the users who view the roofing, category of your website, maybe the roofing page of your website, and you can serve them roofing ads. And then you could take the people who looked at siding and server-siding ads. So that would be a way that you can customize the messaging that you're using with those custom combinations. You can do this on both platforms. You can do this on Google. You can do this on Facebook. And then you can follow up with more relevant messaging based on the activity that the person has done on your site. And the last thing that we're going to touch on as far as audience refinement is cart abandonment. You can use, depending on how your e-commerce website is set up, a lot of times there is a view cart page that happens. So by pulling in the data about who hit that view cart page, along with the data about who hit the thank you page all the way at the end where the order confirmation happens, you could serve ads to people who hit the view cart page but didn't make it to the thank you page. So that'd be cart abandonment email. Very, very effective. The people who added an item to the cart are more likely to purchase in the future than people who maybe only viewed one page of the site. So the performance for your cart abandonment remarketing audience will be higher than the performance of your all users audience. And some tactics that you could use to capitalize on that is you could use a higher frequency cap for your cart abandonment. So you could use higher bids, maybe. You could set higher budgets for that campaign. So you can assign more resources to the audience that you know is going to perform better. So that is display remarketing. There are other kinds of remarketing. There's email remarketing. There's just calling people on the phone. SMS, you can use text messages. You can use a bunch of different ways to do remarketing. And some of those might even have a higher return on ad spend than display remarketing. But display remarketing has a very high return on ad spend. Especially compared to display prospecting or video prospecting or prospecting with Facebook ads, your display remarketing is pretty much always going to perform significantly better in terms of return on ad spend, in terms of cost per lead, in terms of all these efficiency metrics that we care about when we're doing direct response advertising. So adding, if you're buying paid search, if you're buying any kind of offline advertising, if you're buying any kind of traffic to your website, and you don't have remarketing, then you're missing out on. You could just cut your budget 10% for the other stuff, add remarketing, and all that other stuff is going to perform better now because the remarketing is going to recapture that revenue for you. So paid traffic remarketing, on Google and Facebook and YouTube. Is a really good idea to be doing. If you think that these tactics sound good and you want to implement them, awesome. That's you can totally go do that. If you want to make it a lot easier, then you can hire me to do it. Samurai Direct Response, website samuraidr.com. You can follow me on Twitter at @thesamuraidr. If you like these episodes and you want to see them when they pop up. I always post them over on Twitter. Give me a like if you like this video. That'd be cool. If you click that like button down there, subscribe. Subscriptions are cool. That'd be fine. You can go ahead and subscribe to this channel and get the updates that way. So that's display remarketing. Paid display remarketing is pretty cool. You should be doing it. It's fun. If you need help with it, go to samuraidr.com. Click on the schedule a call, and we will set up a time to talk one-on-one. Thanks.